Hi everyone, welcome back to the USCPA classes for financial accounting and reporting. In this video, I'll be walking you through in detail about current value accounting and the methods for current value. So let's dive into to understand more in detail.
What is net realizable value? If you have to sell that asset today, what amount after all expenses you will be realizing out of it is called net realizable value, right? So net realizable value is expected sale price minus the expected expenditure to mature that sale, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is replacement cost?
Replacement cost is basically if we sell the asset, cost the asset replace the current asset. That is the replacement price or
So
replacement.
actually जो definition है उसकी ये है to sell the equivalent asset. For example, you purchased an iPhone 2 years back. अब आज अगर आप खड़े हो तो उसी मतलब उसी पुराने आईफोन जो 2 साल पुराना है उसको खरीदने की कॉस्ट क्या है?
Yes, very true.
Of the similar asset. मतलब ये बहुत minute difference है क्योंकि
Yes,
मतलब
no, it's very true. Very true.
exactly.
Yeah, so for example, let's say you have a car. Let's say in 2020, you have purchased a Mercedes S-Class, right? At that point of time, you might have paid $100,000. Now, if you have to purchase Mercedes S-Class, so what will be the value you'll be paying out for it, for the replacement of that car? So that considered as a current replacement cost of that existing car, right? Same way, like if you have any machinery, let's say that machinery has a production capacity of 100 metric ton per day, right? So you have purchased that machinery 5 years ago. Now, if you have to purchase that machinery today, so what will be the cost you'll be paying? That generally considered as a replacement cost for the same machinery which has 100,000 metric ton production capacity, right?
Yes, sir.
So first one is present value for future cash flow. So expected cash flow from the item are projected and discounted to the present value. So primary problems in applying the concept centered around the many estimate required net amount and timing of cash flow and appropriate discounted. So three challenges in this. First one is what will be the future estimated cash flow, right? Would that be timely which we are expecting will come, and the third one will be the discount rate, right? So the concept center is the many estimate. It involves like many estimates. So that's the one challenge this concept do have. Second is the net amount and timing of cash flows, and third one is the discount rate. So these three things you need to estimate when you are calculating the present value of future cash inflow when you are using the current value method, right? Second is net realizable value. Third, the amount at which item could be liquidated generally under the assumption of going concern, right? So if the going concern is an issue, then probably you might be end up incurring the losses, because if the going concern is issue, then you would sell at any price to collect the money, right? If going concern is not an issue, then you will be selling to the knowing buyers at the knowing market price, right? So here is the assumption that going concern is not an issue. If going concern is an issue, then probably you generally sell at any price just to get the collection, right? Primary problem in applying this concept is around the lack of established selling price. That is the key challenge with this method to many financial statement items. Third one is the replacement cost, like we were discussing earlier. The amount necessary to currently replace the item. Primary problem in applying this concept centered around the lack of established price. Here also, for the replacement, for example, if you have to replace iPhone 10, right? So at this point of time, maybe like you can replace the iPhone 10, but that new iPhone 10 may have few additional features than the previous iPhone 10. right? For example, we were discussing Mercedes S-Class. So what you have purchased 2 years back as a Mercedes S-Class, and today they may already inbuilt new additional feature. So there will be generally a lag in the established price of the item and disagreement on precise what it meant to be the replacement. So for example, replacement of asset in its current condition or replacement of capacity of asset with the new or current age technology, which we are discussing. So will you consider that replacement only on account of current condition, or will you consider the factor which is replacement of the capacity of asset with the new age or current age technology? So those kind of challenges are there in application of these method, but these all three methods are acceptable method as per GAAP, right? Current value methods like output or input, which is value of assets sold or used, or input may be value of assets given up to acquire the another assets. For example, present value of the future cash flow or net realizable value or current replacement cost, historical cost, holding gain is the difference between the current replacement. Example should be present value of the cash flow, net realizable value, current replacement cost. Right. Yes, different statement. Right. So far we understood like concept of all these three, and I'm sure you are already aware of. Nothing new in terms of concept. So last thing is the disclosure part. Here also, like the calculation will be same way how we have done this illustration based on the price index, right? So same way for each line item. If you are using replacement cost, then for each line item, what is the replacement value that you need to replace? And whatever is the difference, it will go into the income statement, same way how we have calculated purchase power loss over here, right?
ये सर ये जो डिफरेंस है ये इनकम स्टेटमेंट में कैसे कौन से हेड में रिपोर्ट होंगे?
सेपरेट लाइन आइटम एज ए परचेज पावर लॉस.
ओके, ठीक है सर.
Right, so we are not going to any illustration because like it will be same, just change in the number only, right? So we are jumping finally to the disclosure part. So disclosure, you need to give a 5-year summary of the selected financial data. So that will be your net sales and operating revenues. Second is income from continuing operation, and which will be separate from the discontinuing operation. Third one is purchase power gain or loss on the net monetary items. Fourth is increase or decrease in current cost or lower recoverable amount of inventory and property, plant and equipment on account of net inflation. Fifth is the aggregate foreign currency translation adjustment on the current cost basis. If there is foreign subsidiary which you are consolidating, so what will be the impact on account of change in the currency rate? Sixth is net asset at the year end on the current cost basis that you need to disclose. Seventh is income per common share from continuing operation or a current cost basis. That also need to be disclosed separately because your entire financial statement will change, right? It will change overall like your balance sheet, income as well as income statement. In the assets and liability, like current assets and current liability may be same, which you will be making otherwise as a financial statement, but it will change the overall non-current assets as well as non-current liability, as well as your property, plant and equipment, equity statement, as well as retained earnings in the balance sheet. And income statement, it will also change like we have seen, right? So you need to showcase separately like what is the net asset at the year end on account of change in this impact which we have considered. Then seventh item, if you see, you need to calculate the earning per share also based on the restated income statement, right? Last one is cash dividend declare per share that you need to disclose, and market price per common share that also you need to disclose on account of the change. And there are some additional disclosure required for current year. So these all disclosure which we have discussed, 9 disclosure, this you need to give for the 5 years. Right? Normally, if you see in your financial statement, for balance sheet item, you give disclosure for 2 years, and for income statement item, you give disclosure for 3 years. Right? But here, if you are opting these changes, then you need to give the disclosure for 5 years. Right? So one, it is not mandatory. Second, it required extensive disclosure and extensive calculation. Unless and until it is really important for the company, then most of the then only like company apply. Practically, I have not seen any company is applying this standard, to be very honest. Right? Additional disclosure for current year. So 5-year disclosure we have discussed. Now we will discussing what all additional disclosure required for the current year financial statement. First one is the information described previously on a current cost or current purchasing power basis if the income from continuing operation would differ significantly from the income from continuing operation in the primary financial statement. That means you need to give the disclosure of primary financial statement as well as updated financial statement. You need to give both the number from in the current year. Right? In previous 5 years, you'll give the updated numbers, but for the current year financial statement, you need to give both the numbers. Primary, that means without adjustment, and with adjustment number. Make sense?
Yes.
Second is component of income from continuing operation on current cost basis, which includes cost of goods sold at current cost or lower recoverable amount at the date of the sale or at the date on which resources are used or committed to a specific contract. So cost of goods sold or inventory, like it goes hand in hand. So what it's saying, like the inventory or cost of goods sold which you are planning to sell, right, need to be disclosed at the cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Basically, that is the standard in Indian Accounting Standard 2, which is like Basic Accounting Standard, as well as IAS 2 for the IFRS, as well as in US GAAP for the inventory. It is like same methods. So inventory need to be disclosed at the cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Second is depreciation, depletion, amortization expense on property, plant and equipment on the basis of the average current cost of the asset's service potential or the lower recoverable amount during the period of use. What it's saying, for the property, plant and equipment, the amount you have arrived or what will be the future recovery, like same way how we do impairment assessment. Right? If there is any impairment loss, then that impairment loss need to be booked. That is what it means. Right? Any which ways, when we are making a financial statement, we do impairment assessment of the fixed assets. Right? But what is saying, the base will be considered the updated value, and then on that impairment loss will be calculated. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Or maybe shall I explain by a small example? So for example, you have, let's say, you have a machinery, right? So which you have purchased in year 1, or let's say $100,000, right? And now you have use that machinery for year 2 and year 3, right? Now, let's say you are depreciating it for 10% every year. So now book value is your $80,000. And now on account of, let's say you are using this current value method. And with the current value method, let's say the value is $95,000. Right? And now what they are saying, if the future use of the asset or if there is an impairment loss, impairment loss, if you have of, let's say, or you can say, how do you calculate? If future expected present value of cash flow from the machinery is expected, let's say 70,000, right? So you need to calculate this impairment loss on this amount, not on this amount, right? Because you are reflecting 95,000 as a gross value, right? So this is the impairment loss we need to disclose. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is what this point means. Third is separate amount for current cost or lower recoverable amount at the end of the current year inventory or property, plant and equipment. So separate amount of current cost or lower of NRV.
तो मतलब नटशेल में ये चीज हो रही है कि हर चीज जो अपन WDV वर्सेस एनआरवी
NRV.
कंपेयर कर रखते हैं वो करंट कॉस्ट वर्सेस एनआरवी चल रही है ना?
Yes, absolutely right.
Okay.
Right, and that for the current year you need to disclose, not for all the 5 years.
हाँ जी.
Right.
Disclosure requirement.
For this, increase or decrease in the current cost or lower recoverable amount before or after the adjustment for the effect of inflation on inventory or property, plant and equipment. Then fifth one is the principal type of the information used to calculate the current cost of inventory, property, plant and equipment, cost of goods sold, depreciation. So the basis at which you have calculated the current value, or basis if you are taking general price index. So that general price index from where you have taken general purchasing power index, so that you need to disclose. Or if you are taking the current value method, so what is the basis of the assets, liability, income and expenses which you have considered, you need to disclose. And any difference on account of depreciation method, useful life of the assets, salvage value of the assets, that you need to disclose separately. Or any difference among the method and estimate used in calculation of depreciation, that you need to disclose separately. Right, so these are additional disclosure for current year only, and these are disclosure if you are using it for the last 5 years. Right, any doubt on the disclosure part?
No, sir.
Right, so now if you see here, so we are done with this chapter 3 completely, and we are done with chapter 4 completely. So this is also done today. Right, so next class we'll be starting with the chapter 1. So here, like I'm expecting it may take like around 2 weeks for this chapter 1, and then
क्लासेस लग जाएंगी.
sorry,
ये तो बेसिक्स है ना, इसमें 4 क्लासेस लग जाएंगी चैप्टर 1 में.
we'll target at least, मुझे लगता है I think 3 classes may cover. 3 classes for this
और
and
सर
3
तो एक चीज
classes.
है, इसमें कंसोलिडेशन आप अभी करवाएंगे ना?
Yes.
अच्छा, यानी अभी तक सिर्फ बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन हुआ है कि हो चुका है वो भी?
Yes.
वो भी अभी
Business
होगा.
combination is done. So this.
अच्छा, वो हो चुका है, कंसोलिडेशन अभी होगा. अच्छा.
Yes. So if you see here, business combination is done.
बल्कि ज्यादा ही लगेगा कि मतलब, हाँ मैं समझ गया, बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन इसमें यहाँ पे है या
So
थोड़ा सा टाइम
business.
से ज्यादा ही लगेगा क्योंकि कुछ हैं टॉपिक्स उसमें भी, मतलब थोड़े बहुत हैं, बहुत बाकी सब तो बेसिक ही है. और जे अगर गवर्नमेंटल अकाउंटिंग के साथ में पढ़ेंगे तो थोड़ा सा फिर
No,
मतलब कंफ्यूजिंग भी
governmental
होता है.
accounting
एनीवे,
will. No. So we will not mix it up. So governmental accounting and accounting for not-for-profit organization will do it
वो
together
सेपरेटली
because they
चलेगा.
go hand in hand.
ठीक बात है.
But other consolidation and concept will do it together. So hopefully, like 6 class, probably 3 weeks it may take.
मतलब अगस्त एंड तक हो जाएगा. अगस्त
Mid of August, yeah.
ठीक है सर, डन.
Cool. So I'll send you the updated notes in the group, and then maybe you can go through all the notes, and Shivam and Vandana, you can go through the recorded lectures, and if you want to set up any separate class, for any doubt on those topics. So then maybe during the week we can set up a class, separate class for you, right?
ये सब वो डिस्कस कर लेंगे जिस भी टॉपिक पे होगा, और मैं
हाँ,
बता
so
दिया करूंगा आपको इवन 1 minute in there. Yeah.
same way like both of you can connect, like both of you have recently joined, so maybe you can connect and do watch those respective videos and go through the notes, and wherever you have doubt, maybe first you can internally discuss, and then if you want we can set up a separate Zoom meeting to discuss in detail.
Sure.
आकाश भाई, एक चीज में हेल्प कर देना प्लीज, कुछ टॉपिक्स अगर होंगे तो आप बता दोगे?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल यार.
No worries. Right, so okay, cool. So enjoy rest of your Sunday.